There is a poison that most of us have drunk at some point in our lives. It tastes like justice at first. It feels righteous. It feels like power. It feels like you are finally doing something, finally taking action, finally standing up for yourself. But the longer it sits in your body, the more it consumes you from the inside out. It spreads through your veins. It clouds your mind. It poisons every relationship. It steals your sleep. And it does all of this while you believe you are in control. That poison is hatred. Someone did something to you, maybe years ago, maybe yesterday, maybe this very week. They betrayed your trust in a way that felt unforgivable. They said words that cut deeper than any blade could cut. They took something from you, your dignity, your opportunity, your sense of safety, your peace. And now you carry that violation with you everywhere you go. It is there when you wake up. It is there in the middle of conversations. It is there at night when you cannot sleep. The violation has become part of your identity. You are no longer just yourself. You are yourself plus what was done to you. You are a victim. And that victim status has become comfortable in a strange way, because it explains everything. It justifies everything. It makes your suffering make sense. And so you hate them. And so you hate them. You replay the moments endlessly, over and over, in the shower, in the car, at 3 in the morning when you cannot sleep. You construct imaginary conversations where you finally say the perfect words that would make them understand. You replay what you should have said. You fantasize about scenarios where they finally see what they did, where they finally suffer the way you suffered, where they finally realize how much damage they caused. You spend hours, days, sometimes years, orbiting around this one person and what they did to you. They become the center of your internal universe. Every achievement you have is tempered by the memory of their betrayal. Every joy is shadowed by resentment. Every moment of peace is interrupted by the urge to revisit the wound. And you tell yourself that this hatred is justified, that it is righteous, that by holding on to this anger, by nurturing this resentment, by refusing to let it go, you are somehow punishing them. You are somehow winning. You are somehow taking back your power. But here is what actually happens. Here is the truth that Spinoza understood with devastating clarity. The only person your hatred is actually destroying is you. Not them. You. When you hate someone, you make them the center of your universe. You give them rent-free access to your mind. You hand them the keys to your peace. You allow them to control your emotional state, your sleep, your ability to be present with the people who actually love you, your capacity to enjoy your own life. And it goes deeper than emotional devastation. When you hold hatred, your entire nervous system is affected. Your cortisol levels spike. Your body remains in a state of chronic fight or flight. You age faster. Your immune system weakens. Your mind becomes foggy and unfocused, all because a part of your consciousness is devoted to hatred. All because you are at war with someone who is not even present. You are sacrificing your physical health on the altar of hatred. You are poisoning your own body. And for what? So that an imaginary version of your enemy, a version that exists only in your mind, can suffer? Think about this carefully. The person you hate probably does not think about you as much as you think about them. The person you hate is probably not lying awake at night, consumed by guilt. The person you hate is probably not reliving the moments of betrayal over and over. Ugh, they may have moved on completely. They may have forgotten about you. They may have rewritten the story in their mind where they were justified. They may be living their life unburdened, free, while you carry the full weight of the hatred that you believe is directed at them. But it is not directed at them. It is directed at you. You are the one being destroyed by this poison. You are the one whose life is being stolen. This is the illusion we all fall into. We believe that hatred is a weapon we wield against our enemies. We believe that by holding on to our anger, we are maintaining some kind of power or leverage. We believe that if we just hold on long enough, if we just hate hard enough, eventually our enemy will understand and the world will be just. But hatred is not a weapon. It is a prison. And we are simultaneously the jailer and the prisoner. We lock ourselves away while our enemy walks free. 350 years ago, a man named Baruch Spinoza sat in a small room in Amsterdam and had a revelation that would change everything about how we understand hatred. But here is the extraordinary thing. Spinoza had every reason to hate. He had been betrayed by his own community, excommunicated, cast out, cursed publicly by the very people who raised him. His family had rejected him. His teachers had condemned him. There was a price on his head, literally. There were people who wanted to kill him for his ideas. He lived in constant danger. He lived in isolation. He lived with the knowledge that his own people wished he was dead. And yet, in the letters Spinoza wrote during this time, there is no hatred. There is no bitterness. There is no desire for revenge. Why? Because Spinoza had discovered something that transformed his entire understanding of his persecutors. He had discovered the true nature of hatred itself. In his most famous work, the Ethica, Spinoza wrote a line that should change how every person on this planet understands hatred. Hatred is increased by hatred, but may be destroyed by love. But Spinoza did not mean love in the sentimental sense. He did not mean you should smile at your enemies and pretend everything is fine. He meant something far more radical. He meant understanding. Here is what Spinoza saw. When you hate someone, you are operating from a place of profound ignorance. You are hating them based on a limited understanding of who they are and why they did what they did. You see only the action. You see only the harm. You do not see the pain that drove them to harm you. You do not see the ignorance, the fear, the desperation that motivated them. You do not see them as a human being. You see them as a monster. And a monster is easy to hate, but a human being, a damaged, suffering, desperate human being who acted out of their own limitations, that is harder to hate. Because to see them clearly is to see that they are not fundamentally different from you. This is what Spinoza discovered through his persecutors. He realized that the people who excommunicated him, who cursed him, who wanted him dead, they were not evil. They were afraid. They were defending a worldview that they believed was sacred. They were operating from ignorance. They were enslaved by their own emotions and beliefs, just as so many of us are. And when he saw them in this light, not as enemies, but as prisoners of their own limitations, something shifted. The hatred could not survive. Not because he forgave them in some saccharine, weak way, but because he understood them. And understanding dissolves hatred the way light dissolves shadow. Now listen carefully. because this is where most people misunderstand Spinoza. Understanding your enemies does not mean accepting what they did. It does not mean forgiving them in some weak, saccharine way where you pretend the harm never happened. It does not mean they were right. It does not mean you should let them continue to hurt you or anyone else. What understanding does mean is this: you stop being controlled by what they did. When you hate someone, you are still defined by them. Your identity is still partially formed around the wound they created. You are still a victim of their actions. Your power is still in their hands because your emotional state still depends on them, on your judgment of them, on your desire for them to suffer, on your need for them to finally understand. You are still enslaved to them. You have simply rebranded the slavery as righteousness. But when you understand them, when you see clearly that they acted out of their own ignorance and their own pain, something shifts. You take your power back. You release the need for revenge because you realize with crystalline clarity that revenge will never actually satisfy you. Revenge will not undo what happened. It will not heal the wound. It will not give you back what was taken. It will only add more poison to the cup. It will only deepen your imprisonment. This is the radical psychology that Spinoza discovered through his suffering. Your enemy does not need to be punished by you. Your enemy is already being punished by their own ignorance, by their own limitations, by their own emotional slavery, by their own suffering. The people who go through life hurting others are not happy. They are not free. They are not at peace. They are slaves to their own emotions, their own insecurities, their own inability to see clearly. They are prisoners of their own wounded past. They are compelled by forces they do not understand to cause harm, and then they must live with the consequences. When you truly understand this, when you see that the person who hurt you is themselves in chains, hatred becomes impossible. Not because you are weak or forgiving in some naive way, but because you are finally strong enough and clear enough to see the truth. And the truth is always more powerful than hatred. Truth dissolves the emotional charge. Truth shows you that your enemy is not a demon. Your enemy is a human being operating from a limited understanding of reality. Your enemy is someone whose own pain led them to spread pain. This does not excuse what they did, but it explains it. And explanation is the beginning of freedom. So how do you actually do this? How do you move from hatred to understanding? How do you break free from a prison you have built yourself? First, you must stop the narrative you have been telling yourself about your enemy. The story where they are pure evil. The story where they acted with full knowledge and perfect malice. The story where they knew exactly how much damage they would cause and did it anyway out of cruelty. Most people who hurt others are not acting with that level of clarity and malevolence. They are acting from fear, from pain, from a distorted view of reality shaped by their own wounds. They are defending themselves against perceived threats. They are trying to meet needs that they do not even understand they have. This does not excuse what they did. Absolutely not. But it explains it. And explanation is where the alchemy begins. Explanation is where hatred starts to lose its grip. Second, you must ask yourself a series of questions about your enemy, not to absolve them, but to see them clearly. What were they afraid of? What pain were they carrying? What wound in their own past might have made them act this way? What belief about the world? What survival strategy from their childhood? What deep insecurity led them to betray you? When you ask these questions seriously, When you actually investigate the person behind the actions, something profound shifts. They stop being a one-dimensional demon in your mind and start being a three-dimensional human being, a flawed, limited, suffering person. Someone who is no different from you in their capacity to be wounded and to wound others in return. Oh, third, and this is absolutely crucial, you must separate their actions from your worth. When someone betrays you, that betrayal reveals information about them. It shows you who they are. It shows their character. It shows their limitations and their wounds. But it says absolutely nothing about your value as a person. You are not less worthy because someone treated you poorly. You are not less lovable because someone failed to see your value. You are not deficient because someone else chose betrayal. You are only clarified about who that person is and what you need to protect yourself from. And that clarity is actually a profound gift, because now you know, now you can see, now you can protect yourself, now you can choose differently in the future. Now you are no longer blind. Fourth, you must stop waiting for them to understand or apologize or change. This is where so many people get trapped. They hold on to their hatred because they believe that if they hold it hard enough, if they are angry enough, eventually the other person will finally see what they did and feel remorse. But that is a fantasy. You cannot control another person's understanding. You cannot force someone to see clearly. And trying to do so is like drinking poison and expecting your enemy to die. You are only poisoning yourself while they remain untouched. Release the need for their understanding. Release the need for their apology. Release the expectation that they will ever change. And the moment you release that need, you become free. This is what Spinoza means by destroying your enemies without fighting them. You do not need to physically defeat them. You do not need revenge. You do not need them to suffer. What actually destroys them, what actually neutralizes the power they have over you, is your indifference. Your freedom from needing them to be different. Your ability to move forward without carrying the weight of your hatred. While you are obsessing over them, while you are plotting revenge in your mind, while you are waiting for them to finally understand, they are not thinking about you. They are living their life. This is the real tragedy. Not that they hurt you, but that you continue to hurt yourself long after they have moved on. Let me ask you something profound. Think of someone who hurt you deeply, someone you have held hatred toward for months or years. How much of your life has that hatred consumed? Not in days or weeks, but in the totality of your existence on this planet. How many hours have you spent replaying what happened? How many conversations have you had with friends about what they did? How many times have you imagined confronting them, making them understand, making them finally feel the pain you felt? How many moments of peace have been interrupted by the thought of them? How many relationships have been shadowed by your unresolved rage? And in all of that time, in all of that mental energy, in all of that emotional fuel that you have poured into hatred, did it change what happened? Did it undo the betrayal? Did it bring you peace? Did it heal the wound? No, it only deepened the wound. It only gave the injury more power over your life. It only made you suffer more. The person who hurt you moved on. They built a new life. They created new memories. They probably rarely think of you or what they did, but you are still there, reliving it. You are still there, tortured by it. You are still imprisoned by it. This is what hatred does. It does not touch your enemy. It only consumes you. But what if you released it? What if right now, in this moment, you chose to understand instead of hate? What if you recognized that the person who hurt you was operating from their own prison of ignorance and pain, their own wounded past, their own limitations? Uh, what if you chose to see them not as an enemy to defeat or destroy or make suffer, but as a limited human being who did not know better, who could not see clearly, who was trapped in their own delusions and fears? Not because they deserve your compassion, they may not, but because you deserve your freedom, because you deserve to reclaim the hours, the days, the years that hatred has stolen from you. This is what Spinoza did with his persecutors. This is what allowed him to sit in his small room, in poverty and isolation, and still radiate peace. This is what allowed him to write with such clarity and compassion about human nature, even as he was being hunted. He was not destroyed by them because he refused to be imprisoned by hatred toward them. He refused to let their ignorance become his ignorance. He refused to match their violence with his own inner violence. He chose understanding, and in that choice, he became invulnerable. Now, before you leave this video, I want you to do something powerful. I want you to write a declaration in the comments. Not a prayer, not a wish or a hope, but a declaration, a statement of power. A statement about how you are reclaiming your peace from the hatred that has held you prisoner. A statement about how you are choosing freedom over imprisonment. A statement about how you are choosing understanding over the poison of hatred. Maybe your declaration is, I release my enemy and reclaim my peace. Maybe it is, I choose understanding over hatred. Maybe it is, I am no longer defined by what was done to me. Maybe it is, I am free because I choose to understand. Maybe it is something entirely your own. Something that speaks to your liberation in a way that only you can understand. Write it, say it, claim it. Because the moment you put it into words, the moment you speak it, the moment you share it, you make it real. You transform it from a wish into a declaration. You begin the process of becoming free. The poison you have been drinking does not have to define you anymore. The hatred that has consumed your energy does not have to own you. The enemies who have occupied your mind do not have to live there rent-free anymore. You have the power. You always had the power. Not the power to force them to change or understand or suffer, but the power to free yourself from them. The power to choose clarity over delusion. The power to refuse imprisonment. You have the power to choose right now, in this moment. You can choose to understand instead of hate. You can choose clarity over vengeance. You can choose freedom over imprisonment. You can choose to see your enemy as a human being instead of a monster. And when you make that choice, when you truly make that choice from a place of power rather than weakness, when you reclaim your mind from the occupation of hatred, your enemies are finally defeated. Not by force, not by violence, not by revenge, but by your refusal to let them matter anymore, by your refusal to let them live in your mind, by your reclamation of your own inner peace. This is the victory Spinoza teaches us. Not victory over others, not domination or conquest or destruction, but victory over ourselves. Freedom from the hatred that was destroying us all along. Liberation from the prison we constructed. The weapon that destroys without violence. The power that liberates through understanding. The freedom that comes from choosing clarity over the prison of resentment. And it starts with a single choice. A choice to see clearly, to understand deeply, to release completely. Make that choice now, this very moment, and then live free.